A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Mary Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Hello, welcome. It's so lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Elisa Joulfaian. Lovely to see you, Elisa. How are you?
Doing great, Mary.
You are on our Homeopathy 24/7 team of homeopaths. And obviously, we spend a lot of time helping people learn more about homeopathy. What was it that drew you to homeopathy?
Well, it was actually an injury of my own that drew me in. I was in, I think I was 13 or 14. I had such terrible brain fog. It was like I had dementia and I couldn't remember anything. My mom was like, "You need help." And so there was a lady at our church that was a homeopath, and she's like, "I can help you." And yeah, that sort of started my journey because it took a few years too with brain fog to get it cleared up. But
Yeah.
that's how I started with it.
That's just amazing. That's just fantastic. And it's so lovely to see you become a homeopath, at a younger age as well. So absolutely brilliant. We're so pleased to have you on our team. So today we're going to answer a few questions from some of our Facebook groups. Now, our main Facebook group is Ask a Homeopath, and this is where people come and they're learning how to find the right symptoms in order to find the remedies. And then our other group is called Homeopathy 24/7, and this is where we're teaching people more about the principles of homeopathy and the methods of prescribing, that sort of thing, just so that people can understand how wide and varied homeopathy is, because it's huge, isn't it? Once you start learning.
Like a never-ending ocean. You feel like you've just learned it and you're like, oh, there's something new.
I know. Yeah, once you're hooked in, that's it, isn't it? It's a lifelong journey. So let's start with a question first of all. I suffer from UTI pain, but I have no UTI. It just hurts. It feels sore and it feels swollen. I've tried bladder probiotics, I've tried all sorts of things, and I'm at a real loss and I just want the pain to stop. So when we read something like this, what goes through our head? As a homeopath, what are we thinking first of all?
Well, I like how they just didn't say they had a UTI. I love how they gave more symptoms because in homeopathy, like we need to have more than just like a diagnosis. Because every person experiences symptoms differently. That's the first thing. It's like, I'm glad this person has given us more information because that makes it easier to look up in the homeopathic books.
Yeah, that's right. Because actually, if we had 10 people with a UTI, they might have slightly different symptoms, mightn't they? So sometimes it might burn while they're peeing, and sometimes it might burn after they're peeing, and sometimes it might not burn at all. Um, and they might feel sensations in different areas. They might also have completely different symptoms somewhere else, and we would need to take that into consideration. So for us, it doesn't really matter whether they've got a UTI or not, does it? Because we don't go on the word UTI, we don't go on the diagnosis.
Mhm. Absolutely. And there is a lot of remedies even out there for UTIs. And so having more details tells us, okay, we know for sure that this remedy won't work, but this is what we would consider.
Yeah, so actually, the fact that it feels sore and swollen is what we need. we don't need the fact whether it's a UTI or not. We need to know how it feels. We need to know how the pain sensation is. We need to know when the pain sensation happens. What else might we need to get a full, because we're always asking questions, aren't we? So are there other questions that you might ask?
I'd probably ask too what color the urine is, because that would be like like a good one to know, because it also might show if the person's dehydrated or not, and there might be another cause besides just just the
Ah,
UTI.
of course.
Um,
If we've got a bladder infection then as well, we might have cloudiness and we might have sediment as well. That's a very important question. And it's going to hone in on quite a few remedies, isn't it? Depending on the different colour.
Absolutely. And also, like, if there's anything that makes it better or worse, would be also a good thing as well. Generally, in homeopathy, I find I always love people when they tell me this makes my symptom feel better, or this makes it feel worse, because that to me is a very like easier symptom to look up in what we call a repertory, like an index of homeopathic remedies. And I feel like it's so much easier when I know if something's better or worse, because usually we can find it in the books.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Because everything you say, somebody else has said before, and that's been written in the book, hasn't it? So what you say is so important for us in order, because quite often if we go to, the certain symptoms that are experienced, there might be 300 or 400 remedies, and somehow we've got to get it down to 2 or 3 remedies. So we need as much information as we can possibly get, don't we? So
Absolutely.
also another important question might be, has this happened before? Is this a recurring UTI? Because then we have a whole lot of other set of stuff that we could take into consideration, haven't we? So if, for instance, yes, they've had it before. In fact, if there's a family medical history of UTIs, if there's a weakness, an inherited susceptibility, then we might be looking at a different type of prescribing to go much deeper as well as just an acute remedy. So acute remedy might help with the pain just now, but if we could also treat much deeper, perhaps address the original cause of it, then we might look at that as well. So are there other types of ways of prescribing that you might consider for this type of symptom?
Hmm. I also I also think that it's good to have, like, especially since homeopathy, we tend to look at the whole person and not just the immediate symptom. There's this way of taking, like, we call it the three-legged. I learned in school is the three-legged stool, where you have like a key symptom and then different things around it. So I would like to help this person get lasting relief, especially if it's like something that's ongoing. It's helpful if we could find other symptoms to base our remedies around. So are we just dealing with the UTI, or do you have a headache? Is there a fever? Do you feel like you've changed a change in your food? Like all of a sudden you used to hate pickles, but now you want to do a Zedam, or you want something super salty. I feel like that makes it more concrete to know that remedy will help you, particular or narrows down the field.
Absolutely, that's really important, isn't it? And also, we might be considering that a number of main or big UTI remedies might have completely different personalities as well. So if we were to consider something like Staphysagria, we might be asking, well, tell me, if you're experiencing anger quite often, or pulsatilla, we might ask, are you easily led to tears? Um, how do you act with other people? So we might actually want to know about their constitution, about how they interact with the people, what's important for them, where they are within the family, what's annoying for them. There's all sorts of
Absolutely.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree, especially if it's a reoccurring issue, that those type of pieces are like crucial because we could like help you today, but if you wanted to keep it like from happening, like say it happens every 3 months or every 6 weeks, we have to look at what else is going on in your life. So it doesn't, because the goal of homeopathy is we don't want your symptom just to temporarily go away. We want it to not, you just, if it's something reoccurring, to not happen again in your life would be the goal.
Absolutely. That is so right, isn't it? So because we've got acute prescribing and we've got chronic prescribing. So acute, we can help you with the pain today. Chronic, we can help you so it doesn't recur, long term. And it just means we get more and more and more involved in the whole picture, doesn't it? So we might be considering inherited susceptibilities. We might be considering a whole constitutional. We might even be considering organ support remedies, perhaps. Bladder, if you've been used to having bladder infections, then there might be something that we want to do there. Or perhaps you've got other digestive issues. We would be asking you about that to see if remedies are. So it's quite a complex question, actually, isn't it?
It really is. Because we also don't know if there's on any medications they're also taking that could also be triggering this UTI recurringly as well.
You're absolutely right. So what has changed? When did it start and what was happening before that, we might ask. Gosh, the more we go on, the more questions we've got. It's that's a really good question. So thank you so much for putting that question forward, because it really helps just to talk. It gives us so much more to be able to have this conversation, which we can't do on the Facebook groups when we just have to type a quick answer. So yeah, it's a complex question. Okay, shall we attempt another one, Elisa?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. I am a year postpartum. Can sepia be used to regulate my hormones this far along?
Well, I love how she's already thinking of a hormonal remedy because sepia is a great remedy for issues, especially after childbirth. But before you just go taking a remedy, you're probably going to want to know why. Like, why exactly does this lady want to take, like, what's making her? Probably would want some more details.
We would want a lot more details, wouldn't we? But like you said, brilliant, absolutely brilliant that she said, would sepia help? Because what sepia is a brilliant pregnancy remedy and it's a brilliant postpartum remedy. And usually our hormones get totally turned upside down during that period, doesn't it? I mean, obviously it happens, earlier on in the years or when we go into menopause as well. But quite often sepia has got such a huge picture, hasn't it? With childbirth, with pregnancy, with hormone upset. Let's just talk about the emotional side of sepia because it has got a huge emotional picture, hasn't it?
It does. It's really excellent remedy. I haven't I remember studying it a lot in school and it's beautiful. Like how it works works so well
Yeah,
to especially when you have those like mood swings or different imbalances where you're irritable and then all of a sudden you're like you're unhappy and your family's like, what's going on? Or then you don't care about anything
yeah,
and you're just too
absolutely.
exhausted to
Yeah,
care.
it's got that complete what's the word where you just you don't care about indifference to the family, isn't it? And
Hmm.
that exhaustion, total exhaustion, which of course you're highly likely to be feeling during pregnancy. You're highly likely to feel it with a newborn and you're not sleeping. And also everything has, just been rattled around like in a washing machine. Your whole life really is in turmoil, isn't it? For a little while. And so how, really interesting question that she's asking, how far along can we be using it? So let's answer that really then, because it doesn't matter how far along, because we're only taking it on the symptoms, aren't we? So how are you feeling?
Yeah, if she's still feeling exhausted, still having that mood swing, still really just worn out. Like, it's definitely a remedy to consider taking because honestly, like you can give like Sepia at any state in your life as well. You can give it as menopause, you can give it like before. It's like before pregnancy. Like I gave some to one of my sisters who was pregnant, and I gave it to her when she was just totally exhausted and she needed a little boost and just was super irritable. And it really helped perk her up and able to her be present with her family while she's pregnant. So it's just homeopathic remedies to be taken whenever they match the picture that we're currently looking at as in the individual.
That is so well put, because you're quite right. I mean, if we compare it with some other remedies, because we've already mentioned that indifference and exhaustion with sepia, we know that with pulsatilla, teary, whiny, can't cope with life, as opposed to Staphylos aureus, angry, and absolutely, oh my goodness, can't cope, or just feel that you're trying to please everybody and you're keeping your emotions inside, and then all of a sudden you explode. Um, or you might go completely the other way and be really, really anxious about everything. Whereas, that then perhaps arsenicum might be a better remedy. So sepia is the one that is saying, oh, I just don't care. I just don't care about anybody. I just, even the loved ones, you feel indifference towards. And that is a huge deciding factor that sepia might be a good remedy for you right now.
Absolutely. And then plus, if you have any other physical symptoms going on, because sepia has a bunch of very distinct, very distinct, like a heaviness and dragginess as well. And it's just better, like with movement and open air. Like if you have any of those go other pictures of it matches, it probably is a really good fit for the remedy would probably be a really good fit for the person. But again, you have to ask questions in homeopathy. We always want to know more.
Yeah, so we want to create that symptom picture, really. We want to know what makes it better or worse. We want to know what is occurring, how you feel, and as you said, that how you are experiencing that emotionally and physically with your body, and we take all of that into consideration. Brilliant. Okay, that's fabulous. That was a really good question, wasn't it? Let's see if we have got another question that we can answer. Okay, this is really interesting. I need help desperately. I have been having breathing and sinus infections for several months. Had a mold inspection done last Thursday and got the results that we have got mold in the kitchen off the charts. We had a roof leak, and it took quite a while to correct in the kitchen. And this immediately makes us think about maintaining causes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Especially with the previous sentence, it says for the last few months. It immediately, as a homeopath, tells me that this is something you that we can make you feel better with an acute appointment. But to truly deal with the cause, we're going to have to get rid of some of the maintaining issues. Like you're going
Yeah.
to have to eventually be able to move out of the place where the mold is.
Yeah, well,
You won't truly get better just with homeopathy.
yeah, you're right. So if we go back to Hahnemann, who put together all of the rules about it, he wrote that health we can do as much as we can do ourselves, but if you are still living in a damp, cold place, you will have breathing issues continuing. So the remedy might make you a little bit better, but it's never going to bring you to full health whilst you still have that maintaining cause. And a maintaining cause could be anything. It could be mold in the house. It could be a bad relationship. It could be, you know, something else. You keep knocking your head on a beam, you know. It could be anything that is continually taking you down. It could be medications that you're taking, couldn't it? And until that changes. So whenever we give a well-indicated remedy and it works a little bit, but then stops working, we always consider, is there a maintaining cause? Is there something else that needs to change in order for health to bloom? And mold is definitely one of them. Now, unfortunately, we do see this a lot. We do see it all over the world. There isn't really enough publicity, I don't think, about the damage that happens with mold, and that people continue to live in houses, you know, which create asthma, basically.
Mhm.
And we can give remedies and we can help, but Western medicine just gives a inhaler and they say just get on with it, and they don't even think about actually you don't need to take medication forever. You just need to solve the mold issue. So
Absolutely. And I feel it's super important because it's something I've come across more and more. It's not as big of a problem where I live because it's a drier climate, but I've noticed that some people are like, oh, I can just take this homeopathic combination for mold and I'll be fine. And I'm like, well, it may help you in the moment, like if you have to live and I get you need to work. But long term, like you really do have to make some changes. Just like we would say if someone was in an abusive relationship, in order to truly be healed, you have to leave the relationship. The same is true with mold. It's hard. It's really hard to uproot and move yourself, but and it does take time. But in the long term, the benefits are it's totally worth it.
and there's one really good way to check this out, isn't there? Go on holiday. You know, if you're 2 or 3 weeks out of the house and things are really different, you know in your heart of hearts that something big has to change here. We have got remedies, we can help, but homeopathy isn't going to help completely unless we can solve this mold issue. But well done for finding it. Well done for testing it. Well done for, you know, considering homeopathy. Well done for everything that you've done so far. But don't take something instead of what you really need to do.
Absolutely. And homeopathy will be great to support you because sometimes you don't have the energy for mold to like even make the move or even have the energy even think of saving up to go to a different place. Like homeopathy is a great thing to give you like in the meantime to
Yeah.
boost your body to just give it to get past that terrible. But sometimes you have the mold fatigue or whatever, just to give you that motivation to change.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Such a good point. Okay. Have we got time for one more? Yep, let's do it. Okay. My mum has terrible pain in her right foot. It's been more than 10 days and it's getting worse. She said it feels like a nail stabbing in her heel. Um, oh, icing makes it tolerable. Oh, she means putting ice on it. But of course, she's on her feet all day. Ibuprofen doesn't
Mm.
work and it hurts mainly when walking. Any remedies?
Mm.
So the first thing I would say, yes, loads of remedies. So let's get to the nitty-gritty, shall we? Um,
Absolutely.
there could be a whole lot of things going on here, couldn't there? And we don't know. We would want to know, the first question probably we would ask is, what was happening before this started?
That's what I would want to know because that's a very specific 10 days ago. It's definitely very specific. So, like, what happened? Did she like overdo it? Did she fall? Did
Yeah.
she start a new medication? was there some great family stress or trigger? That would be all come to my mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. That would definitely need to be the starting point. Also, we might need to go back a bit further. Has this happened before?
Exactly.
That would be important, wouldn't it? Interesting right foot. I would also want to know if there were any dietary changes in the last
Mm,
3, 4 months. Because there is a lot going on as we get older with our joints, with uh, um, all sorts of issues that we have in the foot
yeah,
for many, many different reasons. Now, some people, their feet hurt the minute they get out of bed in the morning. They have shooting, stabbing pains in their heels. And as they walk, it gets better in the mornings. Um, and there are some lovely remedies to help with that. Um, and we will be asking, how does it hurt? What's happening? What does it feel like? You gave us a nail stabbing in the heel. That is brilliant. We know it's on the right side. Um, and so we're already looking at the calc carb, we're looking at colchicum, we're looking at apis, but there's another remedy that is specific, Ruta, and another remedy, and would need to look it up.
exactly. There is one I
Yeah,
was thinking, especially for like the stabbing pain, but I was like, I'd have to look that up as well.
yeah. So,
I
so
almost thought Ledum, especially
either,
since they mentioned it was cold. And if it's injury related, because Ledum's better with cold applications. And so that, and it has like that, since it's made, I think of like lead and like the nail. So it makes me think a little bit of Ledum
and
as well.
Lidu is a fantastic rheumatoid arthritis remedy.
Oh, that's right, because we are dealing with someone who's older. And so if it
Yeah,
is more long
yeah.
term, like that is a good remedy as
And
well.
it definitely has it in the heel, as well. I think you're spot on there, Elisa. Well done. Um, Yeah, it's a brilliant remedy for very specific areas and very specific joints. Um, so yeah, we just need a complete symptom picture. We need to check between 3 or 4 different remedies, and then we need to find out, what was going on before, what might be the cause of it, because it's quite often different things. Um, my husband complains sometimes of an electric shock type pain through his heel, only when his feet are up in bed, and as soon as he puts his feet down, absolutely fine. So,
Interesting. Our
yeah,
bodies all work so differently, which brings me to a question because I've thought of it as I've looked through the group, and I'm sure other people have this question who aren't like homeopaths. Is like, when can people like self-prescribe, and when should they really just get like an acute consult versus like a chronic? Like, how would a person know? Because I'm sure as people go to this group, they're thinking, can we just do it ourselves? Especially since I'm an American, we always like, can we do it ourselves? That's always the first thing I know that comes to our mind.
it's a really good question, isn't it? And I think for me, homeopathy is about taking back responsibility for your own health. The more you know, the more you can do yourself. But also, the more you know, the more you quite often need a homeopath. So, really good question. And what we need to understand is the difference really between the types of prescribing, isn't it? Because acute prescribing, we can collect a symptom picture and we can find a few remedies and then we can try it and experiment a little bit about it. But when it comes to something really long term, we can do it. We can follow all the principles and we can follow all the rules. But what is really, really difficult, and this is not only prescribing for yourself, but it's also prescribing for your husband and your family, is that you are already prejudiced. And in order to be unprejudiced, it is so difficult. And you will find that a lot of homeopaths will go to a homeopath, and a lot of homeopaths will send their husbands to a different homeopath because it is the hardest job in the world. to try and prescribe a family in that situation when you know too much and you think, I want to give you this remedy, I want to give you this remedy. And really they don't need this remedy because they can't tell you everything because it might hurt you. So they'll keep information back. So tell a stranger. I say, tell somebody that's not in the family that aren't going to get hurt by what you say. It's just a really good question. And I think that what I like about the Facebook groups, what I like about our homeopathic community is that we can learn and we can practice and we can experiment and we can be guided and use the homeopaths in the team or anywhere you find a good homeopath to help us along the journey. Now,
Absolutely. And I was even thinking of like the app we have on the Homeopathy 24 website, like using it at home, like if people really wanted to try, like that's a great place to start too. But sometimes you just want that quick fix. And that's what I was thinking. That's what's so wonderful about Homeopathy 24/7 is you don't have to stress about all it. You can just go ask someone else.
and that's a really good point because if you are anxious, if you have a screaming child, if there is an emergency, you cannot do it. Your brain goes to mush and you need help. Now, I started Homeopathy 24/7 and I have rang in myself. Okay. And I know lots of homeopaths who have rang in because when push comes to shove, sometimes you need somebody else's head on the case. And don't ever feel that, you won't ever get to that stage because, when I rang in, I was waiting for an ambulance and I needed a remedy and I had all the remedies. Look, you can see all my remedies and I had no idea what to look for. So I just rang in and I explained what had happened. I'd had an accident. I needed help. I had the remedies in stock. Just tell me what to take. Just tell me what to take. Yeah, you're right. Isn't that a brilliant service?
It really is. And it's really a blessing to have it. Like, so we don't have to always just go call a doctor or do something we can try to do naturally heal it, which I think is pretty amazing. Thank you,
Mm,
Mary.
yeah, and of course it's complimentary, so we can take it on the way to hospital if it's an emergency. We can take it alongside the medication. We can take it, but just to have that guidance is brilliant, isn't it? It's been lovely talking to you, Elisa. It's just so great, isn't it? Just having this conversation and answering a few questions.
Yes, it is. It's been fun. Thank you, Mary.
Will you come back again?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Elisa, for coming with me today and answering those questions. It's so lovely to be able to talk to other homeopaths and discuss what is happening and how best we can help you learn more about homeopathy in the easiest way possible. We know it's a complex subject, and the more you learn, the more you need to learn. It's a never-ending problem that homeopaths and homeopathic home users and home prescribers often talk about. So next week, I'm going to be answering questions about fertility. I'm going to be answering questions about finding remedies for chronic migraines and about the fact that boron always says to take 5 pellets. Is that really necessary? There'll be other things as well that we're talking about. I do hope that you can join me. Take care. See you next week. I do hope you've enjoyed these episodes, and I do hope you can subscribe to our channels. Now, there are various ways for you to listen to our podcast or watch it on video on YouTube. So whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, please do subscribe and please do leave us a review. If you leave us a review on these platforms, then more people will see our podcast. We just want more people to share the joy of homeopathy. It's a choice that everybody should know about. Please do everything you can to help us help more people.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.